Firstly, I'd like to say, can the hosts just kind of mute everybody? Um, okay. Now,
Basu, give me a minute. I just did what you asked for, and now you are muted. This is, where are you? Okay. Person, I can't find you on the chat list to unmute you. Oh my God. There are so many people. Person, just unmute yourself, please.
okay. Yep. Now I can. All right. Thank you very much. Before I would like to start talking, I just need to let you guys know that if you plan on going for a PhD program, you don't need to have a master's degree. So that is the first myth. So now, in applying to graduate school, there are a couple of things you need to do. The first one is to search for schools. And I'd like to state some of the ways that you can search for schools. The first way you can search for schools is by the school ranking. And for a particular program, you can go on world universities, you can go on QS ranking, and you are going to search for the kind of schools based on the ranking. Now, if you're applying, please do not apply to like all top schools. You need to have safety net. So, for example, if you're trying to apply to like 6 schools, you need to do, if you are doing about 3 top schools, you need to do 2 middle schools, and you need to do about 1 safe school. And another way you can, sort out your school is by the location. I know a lot of people are not, they don't want to be in places that are very cold. So if you're that kind of person, then you need to apply to schools in the southern part of America. But if you don't care about location, then, another thing is based on the type of research. For example, me, I wouldn't apply to a school that is fully bio. I'm going to apply to schools that are like energy oriented and a couple of things. So that is another way to apply for school. And you can also check the requirements of the schools. If you are the kind of person that don't want to write GRE, then you need to apply to schools that do not require GRE. And this last one is, a lot of Nigerians don't do it, but is based on diversity. I know a lot of African Americans do that because they check for schools based on, the number of Black people that are there. If I'm going to be included in this environment, excuse me, if it's going to be safe for me. And so now going to the standards, like the fundamental basic requirements, we know that you need to have a GRE score or a TOEFL score, which is not compulsory though, not all the schools. And I believe a lot of schools are even, waiving the standardized test. But the next one is this statement of purpose. The next one is the recommendation, your transcript, your application fee. Now, with regards to application fee, please have it in mind that you are going to pay to apply to some of these schools, $60, $90. But the thing is, there are ways around it. You need to, be informed. Go through the school websites. Can I get application fee waiver? What do I need to do? The next thing is I would like to call on Debbie to give us some insight into like the master's program and all.
Thank you, Dr.
Debbie, we can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So for the master's program, I would say the specialized master's and the MBA program,
Debbie,
you want to need to apply for.
can you guys hear her? It's really low.
I think she might have to speak louder.
No, we can't hear her.
We can't.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I would say for the specialized masters and the MBA programs, you have to apply early. So I know for MBA programs especially, most schools have the December 1st deadline. So you also want to make sure that you are applying to get funding. For master's program, I would say the funding opportunities are low, but there are some fellowships that you can get. I know for myself, I got fellowship in the program, and this was contingent upon applying early. Most schools will say December 1st or February 1st. Any date after that, you might not get funding. And if you do get, you might not be paid funding. So just putting it out there, try to apply early, especially.
Okay, thank you very much, Debbie. So Debbie said if you want to apply, start early, put your application out there. And Bosu also told us about searching for schools. So make sure you have criteria that you're using to search for these schools. You can use the ranking. For instance, if you want to go do your master's or PhD in mathematics, maybe you search for schools, top schools in the US that offer funding in PhD or masters in mathematics. And also, as Bosu also talked about, don't only apply to top schools. I know a lot of people, because they are so smart, or because they got very high GRE scores, they decide to apply to only the top schools. When you're talking about top schools, you're talking about MIT, Stanford, and the rest of them. And I've seen someone, at the end of the day, he didn't get any admission at all, but his GRE score was really, really high. So have what we call safe schools. You apply to top schools, you apply to schools that are good, but not the top ranking schools. So even if you don't get to the top ones, you definitely get into one of those ones. So as Bosu also mentioned, you have the GRE, you have TOEFL, you have SOP, and all of that to write when you are applying to the US. So I would like to call on Ayodele to tell us more about SOP. SOP stands for Statement of Purpose. What do they expect us to write? What should you write in your SOP? Ayo, please take over.
Thank you, Jane. Just to confirm, can you all hear me? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure. As Boston earlier mentioned, and Jane alluded to just now, the SOP stands for Statement of Purpose. But to explain what the SOP really means, I would like to ask you this question, just something to think about. If your CV or your resume was told as a story, what would it say? So if you could translate everything, you know how your CVs look like, list formats, all your achievements, your schooling, everything. If you could just translate it into a story, what exactly would it say? Now, not just translating it into a story, because if you want to tell the story of your whole life, it's going to take a while. But if you could tell that story in 2 minutes, what would it say? So you have to be very intentional. You have to prioritize exactly what you're saying. And you have to understand that the schools know exactly what they're looking for. We always say that you exactly want to try to sell yourself in your statement of purpose. You want to, put your best foot forward. You want to convey that you are the right material for their program, that you're a good fit for their program. But I just want to give you a different perspective. It's not really about trying to sell yourself or trying to show how attractive you are. It is more about letting the school realize what they will lose if they don't accept you. They have to realize that, you are just too good an applicant for them to ignore. And let me tell you why this is the case. I had the opportunity to chat with one of the people on the advisory or on the admissions board of one of the programs here at Stanford. And she said 50% of almost the 10,000 applicants they had to their grad school programs from all over the world had perfect GPAs. That is, these are people coming into the program, their grades are all A's all through. So when you have that, how do you select people? It is through the SOP, because they cannot meet you. So you have to tell a story that paints the picture of who you are because they can't meet you. Why is it the case that it's all an issue of whether, what they will lose if they don't accept it? Why is that the strategy? It is based on the psychological principle of loss aversion. Loss aversion means that you would rather not lose the 1,000 naira you have than do something to gain 10,000. If a person is trying to pitch you an idea to give you more money, it might be attractive, but what you will care more about is that someone else doesn't take the 1,000. Why is it that we all go crazy when banks have these charges they deduct from our accounts? It's not much money, but the idea that someone is going to take something from you that is already yours or that could be yours is problematic for us. How do you prepare for this? You need to read many successful SOPs. in your area. You need to read them, go online, read as much. You need to do a lot of reading about the school, the program, the professors, and your goal is to look for areas of overlap. How do your interests overlap with, the interests of the school, the professors? Of course, I'll talk a bit more in a few later about, emails with professors, but that will also help you. Then you need to get people in your field to review your SOPs. If you can even get people in your program, the program you're applying to help you review it, that is even better. But you cannot just reach out to them when you're applying to ask them to review your SOP for you. You need to have fostered that connection earlier, because it doesn't make sense to just reach out to someone, please review my SOP. It's a lot of time investment. The person will only do that if the person is your friend. So you make friends with them a few months earlier before you do that. And then a final strategy I just want to mention is, when you're talking about your achievements, don't say, I achieved this. No, tell a story and then just mention it as an aside. Just like, oh yeah, this is one of the things I do. This is how I live. It's like you're trying to tell someone you're trying to ask a friend. Let's say you arrive at a friend's house and you're like, oh, I need something to clean the paint on my car. It's a new car. But you don't want to tell him you have a new car. You just like, someone splashed some dirt on my car. Can you give me something to clean it? And say, oh, okay. No, give me something specific because it is a Rolls Royce. So you just mention it as an inclusion, as if you didn't intend to say it. That is a good strategy. It's just alluded to. And it's a great way to sell yourself, because you're essentially saying, this is what I do on a daily basis. It's nothing special to me, even though it is really special. Well, I think that's as much as I would say for now, because I think I may have run out of time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ayo, for that. And this is the mistake that some people also make when they are writing their statement of purpose. They tend to write, I am very intelligent, I am self-motivated, I am smart, I am this. That is not what they are looking for. Tell them a story of what you did that shows that you are self-motivated. Tell them a story of what you did that shows that you are smart. They don't want everybody smart. I mean, if you want to apply to grad school, you are smart in a way. So don't just write, I am smart, I am this, I am that. Tell a story that shows that. And I like the example that he gave. Oh, it is a Rolls Royce. So put that into your writing and it will really help you. I don't know if Bosso or Debbie has something to add to the statement.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Actually, so thinking about the statement of purpose, now I'll be coming from the University of Michigan point of view. In here, that is the most important thing they look out for. They look out, like, the most important thing in your application is your statement of purpose. And recently, or since the time I started reviewing statement of purpose for people, I can't differentiate between the statement of purpose and their CV, because it looks like they just put everything on the CV and they put it on the statement of purpose without a story. You need to connect the dots. So basically, like, you need to tell a story, like, why am I in this field? Like, so how did I find myself in this field? It's like, sell yourself. So in this field that I've been in, what have I done? And okay, let's look beyond this field. What have I done outside of this field? And like, what makes me a complete student? Like, even in my statement of purpose, I put it there that I captain the football, like a soccer team. And some of these things will sell you. And then you need to let the school know what you are going to do when you get the program. When we give you this assistantship, when we give you this scholarship, what are you going to do after this program? So you need to just sell that story, and you need to review it with people that have sold their stories. So that's the best way to put it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bosun, for that. So make sure you tell a story, and also try to be chronological when you're writing your SOP. You start from what you did, what you intend to do, what you're going to do after. Don't just jumble everything together. You write this, you write that. Make sure the story is going in order. And also, I think there is a book called this Statements of Purpose by Donald Asher. It's a free book. You can search for it online by Donald Asher. Search for it online. Okay, before we go into the next question, we have only one question here. The question says, is GRE score necessary for someone to secure a form of scholarship or funding. Debbie, we can't hear you. Oh my God. I don't know what's wrong with your audio. Can you log out and try logging in again, please? Okay. Please somebody else answer this question.
Yeah, okay. So the question is GRE score necessary to get funding or scholarship? Now, this question is contingent on the kind of school you're applying to. Some schools will tell you that they don't need your standardized test, while some schools will let you know that, we need to see a GRE score. And some schools will be specific that we need to see a GRE score of above 320, that kind of thing. So for you to get the right answer to the question, then you need to browse the school's website and see if they require GRE score.
Yeah, I think that is just the answer. Check the school website. They will tell you that if they need GRE or if they don't. If they do, they will tell you the cutoff that you need to reach. Just make sure you check the school's website. Okay, we will continue. I just heard that people can no longer join because of 100 participant limit, which I was not aware of. So if you know anyone who is trying to join but can't, please tell them to look us up on Facebook, Association of Nigerian Scholars in America. We are live on Facebook. I don't think that one has a limitation. I don't know if Debbie is here. Next, we are going to go into letters of recommendation. Now, when you're applying, part of the requirement is that you're going to submit 3 or 4, depending on the school, number of letter of recommendation. So we want to know what should be in this letter of recommendation. What are they expecting us to write? How do we get this? I would like to call on Debbie. I don't know if she's here right now. I think she logged off. If Debbie's not here, can someone please chip in on this before we get her in?
Yeah. So about the letters of recommendation, they have to be really something that describes you in detail, because many people assume that letters of recommendation are valuable because of the stature of the recommender. But many people can get prestigious people to recommend them, but it is about the details. And the reason for this is the admissions team is trying to meet you. So they want to know you and they need specific details like about your life, about some of the things you may have done in crunch times. It's all about the anecdotes, and anecdotes just tell stories about you. A recommender could say something like, there was a time when this happened, that happened, and this is how this person responded. This is how the person they're recommending reacted in that situation. This was what they did. This was the outcome of that, action. The recommender also knows your path, what you intend to achieve. They know your, history. They have worked with you closely, because in the recommendation form or in the recommendation link, they'll have to indicate how long they've known you. So people who have known you for longer, more desired. Another thing about recommendations is that you need to ask for them early, and you need to ensure that they are not generic. So most of the people you need recommendations from are very busy people. You have to get them to interact with them more so that the recommendation has details about your life. In fact, I remember one recommendation that someone wrote for me, and the person told a story about when I was drenched in rain. I was trying to get something done, an important thing, but I had to wait. I was in the rain for 1 hour just trying to achieve an objective. I only got to read it afterward when the person shared it with me. And those are the stories that, leave a memory in the minds of those, who read it. But then you also have to realize that some people have generic recommendation letters. And I'll just share a quick story, on that. I asked for a recommendation from someone, and the person uploaded the recommendation on the website within 1 hour. And I had to ask myself, how long will it take to write something that is specific and that tells the details that they need, that the admissions team will need to evaluate me? And when I saw that 1 hour was just unrealistic, I just told myself, this recommendation has to be generic. So I actually deleted that recommendation and went to look for another one. So I had to ask someone else, and go through that whole process again. And it's not easy because sometimes some of the people you ask for recommendations from will not oblige your request. In fact, I had, the unsavory and unpleasant experience of someone who was deliberately trying to slow down my process by, assuming that if they didn't recommend me, I wouldn't be able to complete the admissions, the application process. So when I saw this person wasn't, forthcoming, I just removed their names and looked for someone else. Now, I say this, because I say, okay, I looked for someone else. It's not always easy to find someone else. I was fortunate to have options such that if a person disappointed, I could get someone else. But if you don't have that, then you have to really work extra hard to foster these relationships that will get you the recommendation you need. So it's a question of how well you've been able to build relationships, because grad school is about relationships. Your advisor should be someone that can be on a very long plane ride with you, and you have things to talk about such that both of you don't get bored. You should have at least enough mutual interests such that, it's the ability to build relationships is not always emphasized in Nigerian institutions. But that is what is known as networking, and that is the currency of social mobility in countries like the US. How well can you connect with people? How well can you show a sense of mutual interests? And that is really key in recommendations. But I think Bosu may have a few
Yeah.
things to add to this.
Yeah, just a quick one. Just from the insider point of view here, one of the biggest red flags is when you list professors that you worked with and they are not on your recommendation, like they are not part of the people that recommended you. And I found out that that is a huge red flag, saying I worked with this professor, I worked with that professor, and then, going through the people that recommended you, the school can't see them saying anything about you. And the second one is, remember, you don't need all professors to recommend you. You might have, you might have worked somewhere and your boss is like super impressed with you. You can definitely ask him to recommend you, you know. And in terms of, professors, I'm going to be blunt here. I understand the nonchalance in like all of the Nigerian professors. I understand that sometimes they take things, you know, they just trivialize a lot of things and you have to pursue them. Even with that, I understand that a lot of students don't have relationships with the professors. So it might be hard, but then you just have to do it. And you need for them to write a good recommendation letter for you, not something super dilute. So you need to make sure they write a good letter of recommendation for you. So, yep.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roy, for that. And as it is right now, Debbie is having some difficulty joining us because of the 100 participant limits. So if someone can be kind enough to log off and join us on Facebook so that Debbie can log in. So we have a couple of questions here. I don't think we can answer all right now, but we will try to attend to all of them. The first one says, how relevant would recommendation letters be for Nigerian students if most of our professors are not at the top of their field? Anyone can take it, please.
Yep, I'd like to chime in there. Definitely when your professors write a letter of recommendation for you, they will look your professor up. That is for sure. Like that's assuming they don't know him or her. But then the thing is, if we are building on your professor being at the top of their field, then a lot of Nigerian professors are not at the top of their field in the world setting. But then mind you, remember, some of us are here already. Some of us have done it, MIT, Stanford, and a lot of things. So they've recognized the work that our professors have put in the little capacity like they are in. So sometimes they look up their research, they look up their publications and some things. Remember, Nigerian professors, even if it's not world class, they actually do put in work to publish papers. So they acknowledge that they are good professors, at least for their level.
Thank you, Dad. I will go to the next question. We have a couple of them here. And this question appeared twice, so that's why I'm going to take it. It says, can I write the recommendation letter for my recommender?
Yes, yes. So, this is something you also have to factor in. Like I said earlier, and also has mentioned, these people are very busy. So this is like you making some proposition to reduce the burden. You're asking them to do something for you, and you say, okay, what if I write a draft and you just edit it? The person will most likely say, okay, yeah, that's fine, because you are really making their work easier. And when they give you the opportunity to write a draft, you cannot be humble. You have to really portray yourself in the best possible light, because we make that mistake. We are all from a setting where it's looked as in bad form to blow your own trumpet. When you are writing a draft for your recommender, you are not the one blowing your trumpet. You're writing a draft for someone else to blow your trumpet for you. So you go all out. You say as much as is possible. What you're banking on is the person may not want to go into in-depth, cutting out of, but the person will just, send it out as mostly the way it looks, and it will contain mostly everything you've done to portray yourself in the best possible light. So yeah, it's a good thing to do, and it makes their work easier.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of quick one, speaking of which, like I did that for one of my professors, and the way that I wrote it, I was the next best thing after Lionel Messi. So you need to blow your trumpet for real.
Okay, so we've heard from our panelists about recommendation letters. We still have a couple of questions on that, but I don't think we can take those now. We might get to them as we continue, because we still have other things to talk about. So recommendation letter is really, really important. I know that one problem that most people face is that they always say they don't have relationship with any of their lecturers, especially in our country, Nigeria, where lecturers and student relationship is not always like a great thing or something like that. So they always be like, how do I get these people to write me recommendation letter when they don't even know me, or we don't even have a relationship? So whether you guys don't have a past relationship or they don't know you, still have to try, because you need it. So for me, I would advise you contact these people, tell them about yourself, tell them things that you've done, just tell them what they need to know in order to write something good about you. So we will continue, and we might get to those questions. Now, we just finished talking about recommendation letters, and another thing we need to talk about is reaching out to potential advisors, yeah, because when you go to the US, or when you come to the US, yeah, to do your master's or your PhD, you need to work with a professor who will be referred to as your advisor. And some schools will require that you talk to these people before you get the admissions. Why some schools would let you come into school, then look for the people, the professor you want to work with. But it's always advisable that you try to contact these people while you're applying. So I will call on Ayo to tell us more about this. How do we go about this? Say I want to apply. How do I reach this American professors that don't even know me? Please, Ayo.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. So very quickly, it's not compulsory to reach out to potential advisors, in every program. It depends on the program you're applying for. This is also part of the homework you need to do. Find out what the school requires. Some schools will tell you explicitly, you need to reach out to advisors. Some will tell you, do not reach out to advisors. Some might tell you, it doesn't matter whether you reach out to advisors or not. Every school has a different approach. It's a big country, and schools are different. And even within the schools, programs are different. They all have different ways of going about it. So the first thing I'm going to say is there are two strategies, and I think I've shared this in another conversation, in another webinar, and it's based on natural selection. And I always talk about case selection and R selection, because I think it's a good way to understand how to reach out to potential advisors. Case selection emphasizes quality, but R selection emphasizes quantity. So case selection just describes how humans and other higher animals take care of their young. They don't have many offspring, but they invest so much in each of the offspring. But R selection is more like lower animals, like fish and amphibians. They just have so many in the hope that even if 100 die, at least some will survive to continue the lineage. For some people, they send out dozens upon dozens of emails, reaching out to potential advisors. That's like the R selection, emphasis on quantity. But then for K selection is about a few emails, but very well crafted and thoroughly, time investment, effort investment is high. And I favor the K selection, but the R selection works as well, which is why many of these organisms survive. But I favor the K selection. So I'm going to focus this part on the K selection method. You want to build a compelling first impression. First impression matters in every aspect of life, but particularly in this case, because one, you are writing them from Nigeria. They don't know much about Nigeria. In fact, that was one of the shocking things we realized when we got here, that these folks don't know anything about where you're from. You get ridiculous questions from some people because they're like, where are you from? They don't even know, and you'll be surprised, but I won't go into that. Anyway, the next thing I'll just say is, professors don't even respond to emails that are important. Yesterday in my email, I got an email, I was copied on an email on a project I'm working with some people on, and they've been trying to reach these professors, 2 professors, they've been trying to reach them for 1 week for something that is important that they themselves need, and they haven't responded to this email. It is that bad. So how would they even care about your email if they don't respond to something that is connected to their job? So that means if you're reaching out to them, you must make your first impression very compelling. It must matter. It must be as important to them as their jobs. But how do you do that? The first thing is you want to know everything about this person. The professor I currently work with, before I reached out to him, I knew enough about him that I knew the names of his kids. I knew whether he had a dog or not. Like, you are pretty much stalking this person. You need to go to their website. You need to know their personal website, their lab website, their publications, their present, past students. You need to read their CV, because in as much as they're evaluating you, you are also evaluating them. So do your job evaluating the person. So if you read their CV, you know a lot about them. That's when you can speak to them and they will care. And it is based on a psychological principle that people only see what they are looking for. You see, there's so many things happening around you, but you're only going to notice some things. It's the principle of attention. It's quite selective. So you attend to the things you are motivated to identify in the world. So you have to position yourself within that person's attentional field, which is their work. So when you position yourself that way, then they're most likely going to respond, to your email. So let me give you exactly how that works, or how that worked for me. It takes a lot of preparation. You write the first draft of an email. It's almost a precursor or a preparation or a workshop to writing your SOP. So yeah, it took me a week to prepare the first email I sent. I included references, I included in-text citations in an email, and then just to tell you the results, I got 100% response rate. They always responded, but 86% of them responded within 48 hours. And 5 out of 7 of them strongly encouraged me to apply to their program. So this is just what there weren't many, but, they got exactly what I was, looking for.
Thank you very much, Ayo, for that. So when you're contacting these professors, don't just go there and say, hi, Professor this, my name is Jane Aguara, and I want to apply to your school. Should I apply? Will you take me in? Just like he said, you need to give them a reason why they should even read. They can even read your email and decide not to reply. You need to give them a reason why they should reply you. And also, I've gotten people ask me questions like, what if the professors don't reply? Does that mean you're not going to get the admission? That means there's no hope for you. I want to use myself as a testimony in that case. I didn't apply to many schools when I was applying because I had some limitations, right? But the ones that I applied to, I sent out emails. These people did not reply me. None of them replied. Ayo was very, very lucky. He got 100% response. I got 0% response, but I'm still here today. So don't panic. It might be just like he said, they are too busy to reply you. They are very, very busy. Even we that we are already in school, you send them email. I sent one an email that it took her exactly 1 week. It's like she counted it and left it. I sent it on Friday. She waited till the next Friday before she replied me because they are busy, right? So don't feel like there is no hope for you if professors don't reply, because some schools don't even require you to have a professor before you come in. It all depends on the schools. Some schools give you the admission. When you come in, you look for a professor. This is why you need to take your time to go through the school's website and know what they are looking for. Don't just go and check where they say apply and then you start applying. Do your research and know what they want from you. I don't know if any other person, maybe Debbie or Boston, has something to say about this before we continue.
Yeah, quick one. I didn't reach out to any professor. I applied to a couple of schools and I didn't reach out. But then another thing that I feel like people always ignore is reaching out, not only professors. Sometimes you can reach out to students, because somebody reached out to me like, oh, hey, I'm interested in this professor and I'm applying to this. I'm interested in catalysis and all of them. And I was like, I feel like that professor doesn't have funds, but I know 2 professors that are fully funded and they have a lot of funds and they're probably going to take you. So I gave them the insider gist because they reached out to me. And that is something they would never know if they didn't reach out to somebody that is inside. So you can also reach out to students. So have that at the back of your mind.
Thank you so much, Boss. That's a very, very important contribution. I didn't know about that when I was applying. I did not reach out to any student, and that affected me. I'm going to give you a personal experience. So the professor I had in mind to work with when I was applying to my current school, I went to his website, I read his publication. He was doing exactly what I did in Nigeria, and I was happy. Like, if I get into this school, I'm just going to continue from what I know. He didn't reply me, as I said. I got into school, I got admission. I met him face to face to tell him, see, hey, this, that, I want to work with you. This man told me, he said, Jane, if you had come into this school 5 or 10 years ago, I would have taken you in, but currently I don't do research. But his website says he does research. So you see, maybe if I had contacted a student in that school or maybe in the department or whatever, I would have been told, see, oh, this man is only teaching right now. He's too tired to be doing research. So it's a very good thing for you to contact the current students. And how would you also do that? When you're searching for the professors, go to their website. They always have their current students pictures, bio, email. Like on my own group website, you will see our emails there. I personally put in our emails because there was no emails in our website. You see the emails there. Feel free to send the student messages. They will reply you if they want to, but most times they will. So moving on to that, we don't have any question. Okay, someone said, is it wise to include our CV while sending a mail to a professor? Ayo, please.
Yes, so this is also like what I said earlier about the SOP and how this email is a mini SOP. I would rather not include the CV. I would tell the story of the CV in a summarized form within the email. That is what I would, because one thing is you want to think about the user experience. You don't want to create many loopholes or many steps. You want to reduce the number of steps for the person to get the information they need. So why don't you just have it all in the email instead of requiring them to maybe click something else or download another document? That is an added step. You want to put all the information on the lowest or the most accessible shelf for them. So attaching a CV might be useful, but I would say only attach a CV if they request for it, because some professors will request for your CV. So if you can tell the story, just summarize it and put it in the email. I think that works.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayo, because some of this is already hard for them to read the email. Now you're giving them extra work to go start reading your CV, but some of them might read your email and require you send them your CV. If they kind of see a reason why they should be interested in you, they might ask you to send them your CV. So someone asked, when is the best time to start seeking for these professors? I would say the best time is immediately you want to start applying. Right? That is the best time. Once you've met, after this program, if today is the day that you make up your mind, see, I think I want to apply to the US to do my master's or PhD. Start your research now. Start looking for these advisors now, professors now, and start the work. Before we go into the next section, I would like someone to please talk about the application, like if I want to apply, when should I start applying? What is the right time? This is 2021, we are January 30th. When should I start applying to schools? Can someone please briefly talk about that?
In a few, okay, go on, Debbie. Go on, Debbie.
Okay, sorry. First of all, I'm so sorry for the breaking transmission. So like I was saying before, for master's program, for MBA programs, and for PhD programs, well, I'll just focus on master's and MBA. It's very, very imperative that you apply really early. Because of the pandemic and everything that is going on in the world right now, some schools are accommodating, they're allowing people they're extending the application deadlines. So if you are lucky enough, you can find some schools that you could still come in for, the fall. But usually, most schools will say, the deadline is December 1st, especially top schools. Most schools will even, I know schools like Harvard, if you're going in for like the big ones, like Harvard, Stanford, where IO is, most times their application process ends like December or even October, as early as October for first round. Again, most have first round, second round, and third round. And if you're going in for funding, you want to apply really early. I don't know if anyone has any other things to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick one. For PhD, you need to start, I feel like you need to start thinking of it almost a year before, more like 9 months before, because if you need to take the standardized test, you need to take it. And in terms of application opens like fully more like in September, but some fellowships open like months before. So you need to think of applying like a year before or 9 months before. So just start doing your work like 9 months before.
Yes. Thank you, Boston. So most schools, or let me say some schools, the application opens August, September, and then it will last till December 1st, December 15, end of December, January, February. But I feel I might be wrong, but I think that good schools, the application deadline is always December. Some of them will enter January, early January, the good schools, but some, not at all of them, but some. So if you want to apply to the US for 2022, you have to start now. And the application will start in August or September, but now is the time for you to start studying for GRE if your school requires GRE. Start doing all of this research. If you don't have the money, start saving the money, because you need money for application fee. You need money to write TOEFL. You need money to get your transcript if you don't already have that. Start getting everything in place now. Now is the perfect time to start. And then someone said, we've been talking only about research. What about those that want to go into masters and it's called thought masters. We call it plan B masters. You will not do thesis or research. Do they need to contact professors? I would say I don't think they need to do that. So we've talked about how to search for schools, the things that you need, how to go about these things. And there's something we've not talked about, and that is called rejection. I call it love letter. Some people laughed yesterday. It's called rejection. So now people, when you're applying to grad school in the US, you put in so much work because it's a very rigorous process, right? You put in so much work, you dedicate your months. I remember when I applied, I was serving. Basically, I was not doing anything else, if not studying for GRE, doing my life for like how many months until I sent in my last application, was so busy. So imagine you put in all of that work and you get all rejection. That happens all the time. It happens all the time. So I personally know someone who developed a mental issue, excuse me, who developed like the guy literally went crazy when he didn't get any admission. We applied together when we did. I didn't hear from him for months. And when I looked for him, I found that he was no longer himself. So now we want to talk about how do you handle rejection, because rejections are definitely going to come. And there's something we didn't talk about. When you apply, you don't apply to one school, you apply to many schools, so that if you get rejection and you're lucky, you might just get that one school that will accept you. Or sometimes if you're lucky, all the schools will accept you. But if you get rejections, how do you handle this rejection? And I'd like to call on Boston to tell us about that. How do we handle rejections?
Yeah, I mean, it's very normal to be rejected. I've been rejected a lot of times. I'm sure IO too. And I'm sure the best of us have all been like rejected from schools. Even it might be as crazy as you getting accepted to MIT and getting rejected by Santa Barbara or something. So you need, like, it's just crazy. So you get rejected. So how do you undo this rejection? Now, I need to state that it might be bad. It might be as bad as, not getting any school at all. But don't let it weigh you down, because you only need one school. Like, you need to get acceptance into one school. And once you get accepted into that one school, all the rejections don't matter, So in terms of applying to schools now, that is why I said you need to apply. It depends on because it's kind of expensive. Applying to school might be $90. So I wouldn't recommend you. If you have the money, you can do 10 schools, I know, because a typical American will probably apply to 15 schools. So if you're applying to, about 8 schools, you do 3 top schools, you do 3, middle schools, you do 3 or 2 low tier schools, or if you want to do 4 top schools, that's fine. And you can get accepted into just 1 top school, 1 middle school, and 1 bottom school. And you know the one that you're going deep down. But in terms of like rejection, please have it at the back of your mind. You will be rejected. You should accept it. Like, yes, I've been rejected, that's fine. But then that single joy, that single acceptance is going to come through. So don't let it weigh you down. Just keep your, stay firm and handle your rejection like properly.
Yeah,
so,
thank you. I just want to add something to that. In terms of rejection, when I was applying, what I was advised was to have a plan B. Have a plan B. Yes, you are putting in all the work, you are putting in all your strengths to get this admission, but have a plan B. What if you don't get this admission? You can't stay at home for the next 1 year before next year that you'll start applying. So have a plan B. In my own time, what I did was, in as much as I knew I wanted to be here furthering my study, I also applied for jobs. Not that I wanted those jobs, but my mind was, I know I'm going to get this admission, but what if I don't get? I'll go for this job for 1 year and I'll apply again and I'll be out. So have a plan B. Don't just stay at home. If they ask you, what are you doing with your life? I'm applying to grad school. And that put a lot of pressure on people when they don't get this admission. So I think that is good. Now we've talked about rejection. What about how do you choose schools? Because some people are very lucky, very blessed. You apply to 7 schools and you get all the admission. And now there's a different kind of problem. How do I choose? What do I look at to pick one school instead of the other 6? Or what do I do? So I'd like to call on Ayo to say something about this.
Yeah, thank you. So it is always a very positive outcome when you have more than one acceptance. But then it can also be very problematic because it's a really hard thing to choose when you have so many good things, available to you. The reason why that is the case is because of something called counterfactual thinking. Counterfactual thinking just means that if anything goes wrong in the path you've chosen, you start wondering, what if I had taken the other path? You start thinking about it. You might even start obsessing about it. I'm facing this challenge here. And challenges would also be in the other one. But because you took this one, you wonder, maybe I wouldn't have had this challenge if I took the other one. There are challenges everywhere, no matter what you accept. The first thing you need to note is do not accept a program because they're going to pay you more. Don't let money be this, because money is a big thing, especially where us from Nigeria, we say, this one is going to pay me so number of dollars. That one is going to pay me this. Oh, this one is paying more. You also want to think about the relationship that you can build with the potential advisor. Evaluate them. Talk to them. Is this person distant? Do your personalities have a good match? Is this program, if it's a master's, is this the kind of program that will position you for the industry role you're interested in? You want to do all that research. So there's a little bit more research after you get more than one offer. You're doing comparisons. Some people spend more time doing comparisons between, the Samsung and iPhone than they would do for, things this relevant, but it's the same thing. People are very familiar with sort tech reviews. So it's that idea where you really want to be clear on what you want. Because now that you can choose, do not feel emotionally obligated or held emotionally hostage to any advisor that you may have promised, I would like to work with you. No, at this point, you prioritize your interests, what will favor your goals the most. Not that, this person will be sad that I rejected them. Their letters were so nice. All their letters are nice. So focus on yourself and what will advance, your interests the most. And when you make that decision, just follow through with it and give it your best shot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayo. I like the fact that you mentioned money, because as Nigerians, I've seen a lot of people when they get multiple admission, that's the only thing they look at for the school that is going to pay them the most. Because I don't know, they just feel like it's all about the money. When you get into the program, you realize that you have other things going on in your life that the money you're getting will not even be remembered. And also, don't feel emotionally obligated. I also like that you mentioned that some people end up in the wrong school because they feel, oh, I don't want to offend this professor, he was so nice. No, at this point, it is your interest that should be of concern. So we have a lot of questions here. Before we answer this question, I would like, we're almost out of time, but we might have to pass a little after one because of the little technical challenges that we had. So I would like to talk about ANSA mentorship program before we take the question and answer. So for those of you here, if you've never heard of ANSA, ANSA is the Association of Nigerian Scholars in America. So it's a community for Nigerians who are studying in the US and for those who are in Nigeria that also want to study in the US. So we have different types of membership. We have student membership if you're already in the US. And we have conditional membership if you're in Nigeria or another country, but you are a Nigerian and you want to come to the US to study. So please go to www.ansaofficial.org to check us out. It's called www.ansaofficial.org. And also we have what we call the mentorship program, where we have students who are currently in the US who are mentors, and they are willing to mentor those who are intending to apply to the US. So if you are in Nigeria and you want to apply to the US, you have the opportunity of getting a student here to serve as your mentor. But for you to get such opportunity, you have to become a member of ANSA. So go to www.ansaofficial.org. I'll put in the chat box and register and also become a member. It goes for us. Just go there, you'll see everything that is needed. So right now we go into the question and answer section. I want to take some of the written question in the chat box, then after which I'll give one or two people chance to speak out. So if you know you want to say something, please don't talk, just raise your hand. I will identify you and I'll give you an opportunity to ask your question by yourself. So someone said, sorry, I'll quickly, it says, okay, how many schools should one apply to in total? So for that, I know it's always, they'll advise you to apply to at least 8 schools. At least 8 schools. But like Bosu said, what if you don't have the money? What if, even if you have the money, but there are some other limitations? I'll use myself as an instance. When I was applying, I had a lot of hindrances. ASU was on strike. I couldn't get my transcript. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. I ended up applying to only 3 schools. And I felt like, God, this is not enough. By the end of the day, I got into my number 1 school and I got everything I wanted. Like Bosu said, it's just that one acceptance that. So for me, I would advise you apply to at least 6 upward. If you go below because of any issue that you might have, that's totally fine. But do not apply to 1 school. Not because the professor replied you so nice, you're like, okay, I'm going to apply to at least these schools. It's certain I'm going to get it. That's a very big lie. So at least 6 schools, that's what I would say. And then we have another question that says, are there alternative fundings if your school do not find? I would like Ayo to answer that question. Are there alternative? Also, before he says something, if you go to ANSA's website, www.ansaofficial.org, we have a section for funding where you can find all this information that you're looking for. But I'll still like Ayo to say 1 or 2 things about this.
Yeah, thank you. There's so many funding opportunities. There's so many ways people get funded, for grad school. And I think you need to think about funding as something that it's competitive. You want to apply early for that if you're looking for funding by the school. And funding comes in many ways. For people pursuing or who intend to pursue PhDs, funding is guaranteed, but it comes through different sources, from TAs and GA-ships to even fellowships. And even at master's level, some master's students or applicants also get some fellowships that are specifically for them. So the funding approach is really broad. Some people even get funding in Nigeria before coming to the US. Some people will even go as far as taking loans That is usually not advised, but if it comes to that, there can be some calculated risks involved in taking a loan. And you have to be adjudged to be at least not a risk for anyone who is giving you such a loan. So there are very many funding avenues, but you only find them if you do some research. These funding avenues are not open or just out there. You have to ask all kinds of questions. The information is actually online, but it's only accessed by those who really look for it. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to look for these things. It's not going to be in a one-stop shop where you get everything you need. Of course, maybe ANSA is trying to change that. You have everything in one place, but that is not how many people here applied and got. And you have to do a lot of work from different information sources, and there's no one script about it.
Thank you very much, Ayo, for that. This is very good that you said they need to do the work, because some people always, when they see current, they ask you, what is the link? Where do I go to get money? They just feel like there's this place you have to go and you see everything there and you just apply. You have to do the work, because even when you eventually get to grad school in the US, you have to do a lot of work. So why not start from the application time? But as Ayo also mentioned, on ANSA's website, we have a list of funding that you can access. So please make sure, check out the website and also become a member, because you have a lot of things to benefit. There's another interesting question here. It says, can I write a letter of appeal after being rejected? Can I write a letter of appeal after being rejected? Will it be to my favor or not? Or Debbie, please say something about this.
That's very funny. I don't think there's any, I've not heard of anyone who wrote a letter of appeal. One thing that you could do though is, if you are someone that has communicated with the grad coordinator, you could, find a way to ask, like, what can I do better? And some of them might even, tell you to apply next year, or if they have, other opportunities in other departments, you can check it out. They are very kind enough, to give you some of these advices. So, but I don't think there's a straightforward way to, send a letter of appeal. So,
There is, just like Debbie said, I think that's how it is. I don't know if Boston wants to say something. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone write a letter of appeal. And I don't know why the person is trying to appeal, but you can always reach out to the graduate coordinator. Just have that at the back of your mind. Even if you want to know why they didn't pick you, you can reach out to the graduate coordinator. So, yeah.
Thank you, Boston. So someone asked, how does schools evaluate GPA? Do they pick specific courses and convert to their 4.0 GPA? No, they don't pick specific courses. So in Nigeria, we use 5.0 GPA. We even call it CGPA. But here they use 4.0 GPA. So I advise you just do a rough calculation and know the equivalent of your GPA in terms of 4.0 GPA, and you know if you meet the requirement. They don't pick specific courses, they check all your academic transcript. Someone says spring applications for 2022 start when, please? When does the application for spring 2022 start?
I think that you have to understand the calendar, the US academic calendar first. So that would help you, in when and how the application process. So they have two major academic start of the calendar. That's in fall and in spring. Fall is the major one. So if you are resuming in fall 2022, so fall is our own August, September. So that's fall. So you have to start applying. The application starts, like Jenna said before, now. You have to start now, basically, for next year. And if you are also going for spring starts in January. So December, January, actually. So you want to also start, a year before. So that's how it works. So it's spring and fall. Fall, August, spring, January.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie, for that. So I have someone's hand raised. I'm going to call on Aremu Abiola. Aremu, please ask your question. Aremu Abiola. He's still here. Aremu Abiola. Okay, if she's not here, does anyone want to ask questions instead of the ones? Someone says, what is the proper way to convert from GPA to a 4.0 skill? Is mathematics. Do it. So I have Dumebi. Like for the answer, just do it. Dumebi, please ask your question. Dumebi. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, they are not here. I don't think we have any other question. I wanted us to end at exactly 10. Okay.
Yeah, just quick one. I mean, this is just to note that please have this at the back of your mind. We are Nigerians. We are the most spirited people ever. There are things that we do that I don't think anybody can do. So if you think you can't do it, then you are just disappointing us that believe in you. So put in the work, do the work, and you're going to see the results. And I assure you, sometime next year or in the next 2 years, you'll see yourself in America.
Yeah.
So just do your best.
Yeah, thank you, Boss, for that. Please just be willing to do. You can do it. A lot of people get discouraged. Are you sure I'm this enough? I am. Yes, you are that enough. You are more than enough to do. Just be ready to put in whatever work is needed, and you'll definitely be here this year or next year, depending on if you're already applying or you are still to apply. I have somebody else raising hand up here. Ola Bams. Ola Bams, please ask your question. I hope this time you can ask. Ola.
Okay, hi.
Okay.
Hi everybody. Okay, I quickly want us to talk about visa application, because as of last year I was at US Embassy in Nigeria, Lagos, and I was denied. However, I had a part-time scholarship. So up till today, I still do not know why my visa application was denied, and hopefully I will reapply. I think this application is very big.
Yes, I don't think we can attend to that now because this, or does anybody want to quickly say something? First, for me, I feel like this webinar is just for those that want to apply. Visa application is like a whole process. We have to talk about the preparation, the things you need to do, how you go about it, and all of that. And that would take a lot of time, but maybe someone can just say one or two things about this. Or it's a whole process. You have to do on that webinar.
Yeah, what I'm going to say is just reach out to me on LinkedIn and let's talk about it.
So look for Bosun. You can check his full name if you can't see it here on the flyer, and then look for him. Okay, we still have 2 minutes, and I would like Uchechukwu Victor to say something. Ask his question. Uchechukwu Victor, if you are here, ask your question. Okay, why he's not here? Someone says, when do I hear back from schools after applying? So when you apply, let's say you applied for 2020, this is 2021, you apply for 4 this year, right? So sometimes you can hear from them beginning of January, middle January, ending February, up to April 15th. I think that's the deadline for getting admission, also accepting it. So from January till April 15th, you can hear from the school. So if you've applied, don't worry. A lot of people panic. What if I get admission? How do I know? How do I know? You will definitely hear from them whether you got it or not. So just wait. You don't have to do anything. Just if you're someone that, if you're a believer, just be praying and wait. You're definitely going to hear from them from January up to April 15th. I know someone that miraculously got his, I call it miraculous because school have already started, and he got his acceptance letter after school started. Reason being that I feel like they rejected him, accepted somebody else, and maybe the person choose a different school, and because of that, just sent him an email like, okay, see, now we have an offer for you. You can come. So just be hopeful and wait. I think of this webinar, but before we go, I would like to ask, does any of the panelists have any question, not question, sorry, any advice or anything to say before we go?
Yeah, just a quick one. Just like Bosun said, Bosun told you exactly to reach out to him. Some people already recognize that is usually the first step. So if you intend to apply, you want to reach out to people, and even when you reach out, don't expect that he will prioritize, or because he's a busy guy, so he will eventually, get back to you. And that is how it is for most people here. There are things happening. There's always something going on. So you always want to connect with people. This is one forum to do that. So the fact that you're here, especially if you're not yet in the grad program you want here in the US, is the way to go about it. Attend more events like this, connect with people already doing what you want to do, because I always say that it's always advisable to get constructive criticism from people who have constructed what you want to build for your life. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Ayo. Debbie, Bosun?
I would say there's no one size fit it all. Every one of us, Jane, Ayo, Bosun, we had different encounters, different ways in which we applied, and different experiences. So you just put that at the back of your mind that your experience is also going to be. So you don't need to panic or start saying, "Oh, Jane did has this way, and so mine has to do this, has to go this way." And if it's not going that way, you start saying, "Hey, I missed it," and start giving yourself pressure. You don't need that. Your story is going to be different, and so just have that at the back of your mind, and you'll be
okay.
Yep. A quick one. Just remember, a few years back, we were also like this, trying to get admission into schools. We weren't even sure of what our path would look like, but we kept on pushing. And I'm a big lover of people putting effort. And I'm proud of everybody on this page today. I'm proud of the kind of effort you're putting in trying to get admission into grad school and trying to make a better name for yourself. And this is the beginning. Just keep pushing. And one day you're going to look back and smile and see the product of your effort. So thank you all.
So like, just believe in yourself that you can do this. Believe in yourself. If you meet any of us that is already studying here in the US, we all have different stories to tell. I just told you how I had a lot of limitations and I couldn't apply to all this. Even the number one school that I had in mind, I couldn't even apply because I didn't meet the deadline. When I had so many things, I fell sick, I couldn't study. There were so many obstacles, but at the end of the day, I am here and a lot of other Nigerians are here. So that means if we could do it and we are here, you also can do it. Just believe in yourself. And once you have that in yourself, start working. Don't take it lightly. Put in the work, because you have to work. Researching for schools alone is work, right? Preparing for GRE, if your school requires GRE, is work. TOEFL, you might feel like you speak English all the time until when you have few seconds to say something on TOEFL, that's when you know it's not that easy. Just be willing to put in the work, and trust me, you can do it. Don't feel like maybe this one they are talking, they got all A's when they were in Nigeria, or they were all gurus. It's a lie. It doesn't work like that. And also, if you feel like maybe you are not I know someone, people always feel like, okay, if there is GRE, I need to get 340 before I will get admission. Someone got 328, he didn't get admission. Someone got 291 and he got admission with full funding, like a friend of mine. So everybody's story is different. That's one thing with the US application. We all have different stories, but you just have to put in the work on every part of the application. Ready to do it, and trust me, by this year or by next year, you can make it to the US to further your studies. And we wish you all the very best. Also, please go and check ANSWER, www.answerofficial.org. There are a lot of resources that we are offering. Register to become a student member so that you get to connect with people that are already here. Now you've seen Ayo. There are a lot of people like this three and myself that you're seeing here. There are a whole lot of us here, and imagine the advantage to connect with us even before you. And how can you do that? You can do that by joining ANSWER. Go search for www.answerofficial.org. Register. It's just $10. Just $10 to become a conditional member. $10. When I was in Nigeria going to apply to the US, I don't know how much they charge and a lot of resources that you can get. But when you join ANSWER, you get to meet the students that are already here. You can communicate with us. You get a mentor, which is really, really important. So now, immediately you log off this Zoom meeting, go to www.answerofficial.org and become a member. We hope to see you and work with you. And what we are looking for is that by the end of this year or by next year, you join us here for furthering your studies. I have someone who said that he already got admission, no funding, but he's seriously looking for funding. I would advise you to go and look for other sources that you can get funding. If the school is not giving you, for me, when I was applying, the school that gave me admission with no funding, I just think twice about them. But if you really want to go to that school, like Ayo said, there are other fellowships or whatever you can get. That do the research and look for this. And I really hope you find something. So thank you all, everyone, for joining this event. We hope to see you all some other time as we'll be having other events. And how will you know about these events? You will know about them when you become a member of ANSA. Follow us on our social media platform. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We are official_double_ ANSA, or just search for Association of Nigerian Scholars in America. If you go to our website, you see everything about it. We hope to meet you all, also work with you all, in order to bring you guys here and also enjoy this community of Nigerian students in scholars in America. Thank you also the panelists. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Boston, for making our time to share this wonderful resources with all of us. I'm sure the attendees are happy and glad that they attended. Thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your day or night, depending on the time. And also, if you want to rewatch this event after now, we are going to be posting on our YouTube, our Facebook, and all our social media platforms. That's why you need to go follow us, subscribe, so you also be updated when we have upcoming events. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.